oh, okay, I think it's working. I keep getting these notifications.
No, I can hear you.
But yeah, I'm very excited to be here. As Abra mentioned, I am at the University of Chicago right now, obviously online, so I'm not actually in the state of Chicago, which is pretty weird, but looking forward to this. Excited to meet you all.
Great. Thanks so much. Marcus, great to see you. Feel free, people, to keep your video on, turn it off. It's totally up to you. We're going to have slides up in just a moment. So that will be the focus of the screen, but it's really, I know it can be hard to be on video meetings all day. So not at all offended if folks have their cameras turned off. What we are planning on doing is if you have questions, we're going to save them for the end of the presentation, but feel free to drop them in the chat box at any time throughout the presentation. That's no problem if you don't want to lose your train of thought, and then we'll pose those at the end. We, as always, are recording today's session. I just started that. So if you want to refer to this at a later date, I know Javier has got some great materials he's sharing with us, or you want to share it with a colleague who wasn't able to make it, then in the next couple of days, I'll be able to send out the link to the recording. So you'll have that. We'll also go ahead and put it up on housingisd.org, where you can, if you haven't been there before, find a lot of our other resources. So I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Javier. He'll introduce MathTalk, the organization, and what they're working on, and how housing authorities can be involved with that work.
Great. Thanks, Abra. Appreciate it. Great to meet everyone. I am always getting confused when I have my Zoom window open and two screens with presenting PowerPoint. So give me 1 second as I get this up. Okay. Great. You guys all can see the presentation properly? Awesome. So just a quick reiteration of what Abra said. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll get to all of them. And if you need to reach me separately afterwards, my email will be at the end of the slide. Super easy. It's just javier@mathtalkpbc.com. You can reach out to me at any time as well. So I just wanted to introduce MathTalk. Again, thank you for the opportunity to let me speak with you all today. We are, so quick description on MathTalk is that we are, being able to provide opportunities for families to engage in math conversation by placing installations or digital experiences in public waiting spaces. We are working to be a solution for adults who have some level of math anxiety to have basic tools necessary to talk math with their child. So if you see here, we're trying to provide a variety of options for families to be able to work with their children around mathematics. And I'll get into each one of these in specifics in a few minutes. So MathTalk, for families, we're able to provide opportunities to talk with their children. We're able to create opportunities for togetherness and engagement. And we also provide opportunities for exploration and interaction with their children in different spaces, from parks to houses to backyards to courtyards, anywhere that there may be an opportunity for some type of level of engagement and interaction. For children, we're able to provide exploration. We're able to provide opportunities for engagement as well. And we're able to provide them a fun way to look at mathematics and an opportunity for them to really play with numbers. This lovely child here is my daughter. So just throwing that out that she thinks she's famous because she's on a PowerPoint presentation. So I always have to give her a little shout out. Our team, we have a very diverse team. So Omo is our founder and chief executive officer, our CEO. Omo has been working around math, and he calls this the family business. His father was the founder of the Algebra Project. Omo had went on to lead a national organization and was the founding member of the Young People's Project, where he was able to work with youth throughout the country. And during this, Omo had his children, his oldest son, Johari, when Johari's 8 now. During this time, Omo decided he wanted to have some opportunity to do some math activities with his child. And honestly, out of that, MathTalk was born. It's how do you continue to have fun and interactive math opportunities with your children? For myself, I'm Javier Masonet. I am the Director of Partnerships and Strategic Initiatives for MathTalk. I have worked with Omo for many years as I was a director for the Young People's Project here in Chicago. MathTalk is a Massachusetts, Boston, and Cambridge based. I am Chicago based. I have 3 children. I have an 8-year-old son, a 6-year-old daughter who just turned 6, and a 20-month-old daughter as well. So as you can imagine, I'm really tired all the time, but they are such a joy. So what we know right now is that it's important to reach children and families where they are, right? We want to make sure that we have a level of success for children who are working on these activities in familiar spaces. We know that when children are in their homes, if they're in parks that they frequent, if they're in restaurants that they frequent, they are better equipped for learning when they feel safe and when they feel engaged with someone who knows them. So for this, we were trying to provide some solutions through a variety of lenses. So we have a 3-tier approach where we have community-based hotspots, which we will get into. These are essentially spaces and installations that we're able to place in areas such as parks, schools, restaurants, anywhere that there is public or private space that someone wants to be able to put something in. These are installations that come with signage and all are pairing with some type of technology, which again, I'll get into each specifics. We are working on digital products as well, which we have an app that we are launching in December, which is called our Measure Everything. And we have a great demo for you with that app. So we're also looking for families and partners to test out some of these products that we have as well. And then we have augmented reality experiences. These experiences pair with the installations and the hotspots. And one way to think about the installations is we always call them public art installations. So essentially they're there, you can interact with them, and they are aesthetically pleasing. So this is how it would essentially look for a community hotspot as you walk into, we're going to use a park as this example. There is a sign at the beginning of the park that shows you essentially where you are and where the opportunities are for you to engage and interact with the installations that are in the park. One of our installations that we have is the gigantic number line. The gigantic number line is really cool. It's used as a way for kids to be able to do things like, regular hopscotch, or they can do number counting, or they can do a variety of different games that either they develop or what's great about the work that we're doing is we're also engaged in putting signage throughout the parks and the installations as well. So when you look at this, it says, wow, look at this colorful line. What do you notice about the colors and the patterns? This is something that the parents or the caretakers or the adults, whoever's with the child, can really look at these signs with confidence to be able to know that they can engage in something mathematical with their children while they're present at this installation. With this, there is an augmented reality experience that also pairs with this. So this number line, and I'm going to get into this really quickly. You're still able to see the screen? For some reason, the number line is not showing up, but there is I can come back to it towards the end. There is a demo with this. The number line is paired with an augmented reality experience that allows for the number line in the physical environment, if you could see in the iPad, to be then transformed into the digital environment, to be able to provide an opportunity for the kids to be able to play with that number line through either a parent's phone, iPad, any type of tablet, Android or iOS based. These are continuing to be developed, so they'll be continuing to be refined. But one thing that we find with having the digital experiences with the physical installations is it can always be refreshed, right? You can play a game of hopscotch so many times, and if we're able to provide you with new games and new opportunities, you're more inclined to come back and to want to play and to use that for something different, right? So this is for our number line. The next one, this is one of our string art installations, and we also have a Venn diagram behind. So if you can see here with the digital experience, with the AR experience, there are some games that you'll be able to play in terms of creating designs. How do you place numbers? What's similar? What's different? There'll be different opportunities that you can use for these. This one is a dot grid. And as basic as a dot grid seems, it really allows for the kids to be able to create and to play and to partner with each other. So this dot grid here, there will be an AR game that allows you to essentially hide a treasure. And the kids need to figure out how to get to the treasure. They have to then play on, again, the digital experience to find where they bury the treasure in the physical environment. So they're able to use that to trigger the digital experience. The next one we have is called the Random Walk. This is essentially one of my favorite installations just because we were able to partner with the Young People's Project, who we were speaking about earlier. And this installation was created by a group of 5 or 6 high school students. So we gave them a task essentially to hack a space and let them know like, hey, we want to provide a math game. What can you create? How can you create it? They were able to come up with this game called the Random Walk, and it's probability based. You can do anything from flipping a coin, rolling dice if you just so happen to have dice on you. You can flip a stick, anything that essentially can give you a representation of 2 sides. And you have to choose between if you're going yellow or pink. The first one to the dot wins. Or you can all start on the dot and the first one back to the star wins. And you know your chances of getting all pink on the way to the blue is less than if you go yellow, pink, yellow, pink, yellow, pink. So this is a really fun game that the kids are able to play as well. So from here, we also, if you notice on all the signs, there is the phones with a cool dinosaur in it. So this is an app that we are launching in December called the Measure Everything. So we've invested a lot of time in developing this app, more so than we originally anticipated. So COVID, for a lot of us, transitioned some of the work that we were doing. And I know that goes for essentially everyone around the world. So we were really focused on getting the installations and products that were more physical to touch, more engaging within either parks or housing projects or restaurants. But we had to step back from that a little bit, just given the new dynamic where people want or don't want anything that they essentially have to touch or be involved in that way. So our thinking was we're going to move back and we're going to put in more resources towards this measurement app for kids. So the measurement app, I'm going to do a demo. If hopefully this one comes up, not like the other one. And I will talk you through the demo. Amber, do you know why demo might not be working?
I'm
It was
not
working, right? It was working when we got on.
Hmm.
Just give me 1 second. Sorry, I want to make sure this.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, if you can't get it to work, maybe if you emailed it to.
I'm just going to pop it up online.
Okay, perfect. I was going to say,
will do
otherwise,
that.
maybe if Hannah's the original host of this meeting, maybe if she did it, it would work better.
Okay, just do this. reshare again. I apologize for the technical difficulties.
No.
Okay. So this is the opening to our measurement app. We're able to add profiles for kids. The grown-ups only section allows us to change from English or Spanish, which is awesome for a lot of the families that we're aiming to serve. You're able to create profiles for each individual child that you have playing with us. So not everyone has to play with the same username. They all are able to gain their own experiences, gain their own adventures, gain their own level up throughout the entire game. So I'm going to start first. We have two sections. We have measure and we have adventure. I'm going to show you the measure first. So essentially, this is within my living room. This is how the adventure starts. You're able to choose different foods. And if you've seen, like, Apple has a measurement app. This is essentially like this, but it gives it a little bit more of a interaction for kids to be able to see what they can measure with, right? They don't need to necessarily go through and measure with inches and centimeters and feet. We can teach them different non-traditional measurement standards and measurement units. So that one, again, was a carrot. We can go in here, we can now go on an adventure. Now with this adventure, we were looking at essentially your favorite animal. How big is your favorite animal compared to something in your house? So this is taking the kids on a trip through Boston. So able to look at some of the cool areas in Boston. Fenway Park was at the end. So this is, we're going to visit the Franklin Park Zoo. This is what they're asking us to do from the Franklin Park Zoo. So now we take that and we can go back and we can choose our favorite animal or any animal from the list of items that are available in the unit section. So this one, what you also have to think at this point, which is great for the kids, is what's going to fit, right? So are we looking at, should I choose a bunny? Should I choose a dinosaur? Should I choose something smaller that's going to actually fit on my couch? This one, the jackrabbit, was able to fit there. We can go through and see every time you tap them, there's also a little interaction that it gives them. Something that's also cool is that the kids are able to decorate their creations as they choose. So they can have sticker packs, they can drop in stickers, they can take a picture of it. And again, this is something that's cool for after school programs, in school programs. They can also send these to their teachers when they're done. Shoot them a text, shoot them an email, anything. You can keep track of what they're doing. So when you look at this and now we take it outside and we think about, okay, what about parks? What about courtyards? How can you use something with a bigger animal? So I took my Triceratops outside because it wasn't going to fit in my house. You go through, what it's cool, when you're finished, it'll tell you the number 1, it'll essentially vibrate, and you can go through and look at how you placed a Triceratops in the middle of the park or the middle of outside. He's one of my favorite. So there's also other ways that you can measure with that. I wanted to see essentially, a giraffe. I love the giraffes in here as well because they're so tall. But again, I can't do the giraffe in the house. So it's one of the things that when I go outside and you can play with it, what are some things that you can do? Now you can see how tall the giraffe is, and then now compare that to the Triceratops and see how tall the giraffe is compared to the tree, how tall the giraffe is compared to the Triceratops. And these are all prompted with prompts in app. So kids that are younger can play with their families, and kids that are older essentially can self-direct themselves with this as well. And lastly, I wanted to see how tall the tree was, and I'm going to stack some baby elephants to see how tall the tree is. So it's just about 5 baby elephants tall for them. Stop that one. Go back over to. So, what we know is that, we want to provide any opportunity possible for children to have an advantage of learning, math outside of school, in order to effectively change their experiences within traditional education. So what we're really looking at is how do we take time to go through and provide these spaces and create opportunities for these children to look at spaces differently. Now, when I'm with my kids and we're in a park, and they want to take out the app so they can use the big animals, right? And they want to see how many big animals they can fit in this section. My daughter, who's 6, she started playing with this when she was 5, maybe even a little younger. Her favorite thing still is to create an animal farm or an animal zoo with the app. Not necessarily exactly what we created the app for. However, she's really excited about seeing how many, baby elephants are going to fit next to the gigantic triceratops. And that's literally what we're asking for, is we want to be able to create opportunities for kids to learn everywhere and to learn something regarding mathematics that's going to allow them to take the next step in a math conversation. This app is going to be available in December, completely free. It is not something that we are, offering to sell to anyone. We are providing this as a free app to families. The only thing that the kids will have to pay for is that they'll have to pay for the sticker packs and the animals in the app. And the way they pay for that is by actually using the app. So there's no cost for them at all. They just have to level up essentially with an app. They earn coins and they can buy things with those coins in app, which is super cool. And when I first started using,
oh, I'm sorry. I was just, do you want to put the slides in full screen mode?
You just have to click on the top right. It says switch displays. Sorry, top left.
Perfect. I think people
Great.
can see just a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm having a horrible.
You're fine. You're fine.
So what I was saying is when they first switched over the app, I had a hard time with it because I had to level up my entire catalog of animals again. But one thing that you have to do is you have to continue to use it and continue to play adventures, and you start earning apps. There's really cool gamification with all the stuff that we're doing. And ways that we can combine these two is if we go back to the original signage, there will be a QR code that's on here that will link them directly to the app, or at least to the website where they can download the app. So there's always some type of prompt for level of engagement in anything that the kids are doing and anywhere that the installations are taking place. We get back to, so one of the ways that we're asking to partner with folks is we have essentially 2 ways. We have distribution partners, and our distribution partners essentially help us spread the word. So essentially what we're doing here, and Aura gave us the opportunity to speak with others regarding what we're doing. This is how we partner with distribution partners. We come out, we'll provide them with either a webinar, interact with anyone who is interested. We provide them with access to the app if they're interested in playing with it, but they can also promote it to their families as well. We're also offering to be able to work with families at the same time to, get a sense of how they're using the app. What is it that they want to have more of in the app, less of, so that we can learn more about what we're trying to do, but also learn about what their children are interested in at the same time. We also are looking for installation partners. So we think about these installations, and I do want to go back online just before we finish to show the demo for how the installation with the AR, I'm going to pull that one up online. I just kind of think that's important to see how those two work together. But some of the installation partners that we're currently working with, the Whittier Housing Project, they're currently the Flat 9, or changing their name to the Flat 9. We're working with them to look at their courtyards and their public spaces, their walkways, and figuring out how do we mathematize some of those areas. The Charles River Conservancy, we're working with them. Essentially, there's a whole stretch of the Charles River in between Cambridge and Boston that essentially isn't used, right? People are walking through it, but it's space that is available and ripe for interaction and for engagement. Working with different public school systems, we have the city of Evanston that we're currently partnering with. They're looking at doing some STEM parks. So we're helping them create ideas for how do they mathematize their parks a little bit more. And then also working with a group with some nonprofit and CBOs to transform their locations as well as locations that they have access to, may it be hospitals or any type of other waiting space. Do we have any questions?
So I think while Javier is pulling up that other video demonstration, if folks have questions that they either want to unmute and ask, feel free to raise your digital hand or your actual hand if you want to turn your video on, or you can put any questions in the chat box. Definitely looking at who some of you who are on the webinar today. I know that you all have really robust partnerships with your school district, with other program, out of school time and summer programming. And so I think this could potentially be something that could be a good fit for your residents.
So this is the demo that was supposed to play earlier. So this is with the gigantic number line. So here we're able to, again, take the physical interaction of the number line and drop it into a digital experience. So here we're able to drop a digital number line directly on top of a physical number line, measure it out so we can get everything properly aligned. And you can decide, do you want to keep this digital experience or do you want to go just with the physical experience? So here with this basic app, it's just, big jump, medium jump, small jump, and we have to get the bunny to the carrot. And again, we turned off the digital experience, the digital number line experience, and now the kids are just using the physical installation for their digital game. So we have that. There's those, and then let me see if we have this one's cool as well. So we have frogs, there's cougars, there's rabbits. There'll be more animals as we continue to update this app as well. But this is something essentially when you're having a physical installation installed, this will be part of the package essentially where you get access, or the access is provided on the signage at the location for a digital experience. And again, these are no cost experiences that can enhance the experiences for the children at the location. And that is all I got.
And Javier, are there, on the website, is there a list of all of the current physical installations?
So our website is currently in extreme development.
Okay.
It'll be ready. It'll be ready at the end of this month. But we spent so much time working on the measurement app that the website kind of got pushed to the side. So they will be launched around at the same time.
Okay.
So we'll be able to put locations on there as well.
Great. Yeah, because we don't have anyone from Cambridge or Boston on right now, but perhaps they'll watch the recording. And same thing, we have partners in Chicago and Cook County, Illinois. But I know there are folks from other parts of the country who are on right now who might be curious if there's something in their neighborhood. Marcus, did you have a question?
Sure. Javier, thanks for the presentation. And I think the product is amazing. We've been having conversations about, in particular neighborhoods in Seattle, about math justice and how do we bring math into the community, into the everyday lives of our youth. So I'm super excited about this product. And I just had a couple of questions. So what is the cost to be an installation partner? And then are there any partners that you've been talking to in the Seattle area? And I'm from the Seattle Housing Authority, by the way.
Okay, cool. So partners within Seattle, we haven't necessarily talked with partners in Seattle. However, there's been conversations with, we received some funding from Heising Simons. So Heising Simons has asked us to consider installations in Seattle. And so they are looking to facilitate introductions and partnerships with people in Seattle as well. So if you are interested in having something in Seattle, there is opportunity as we look to expand that way. That is part of our planning phase with them from the funding that we've received from them. In terms of cost for an installation, cost for installation run roughly about $2,500 to $5,000 per installation. So that'll include the signage, that'll include the painting of everything on the floor. What we do ask when we work with groups around the installations is that you help us identify community folks that can work with us to do the installations. So, we want to use local artists. We want to use local painters. We don't want to come in and kind of do anything, bring anyone in from outside the community to do it. We really want to tap into the residents that you may have and provide them with opportunities to do the work. So it includes, again, the signage, that's part of it, the digital experience, that's part of it, and then the actual installation itself.
Thank you.
Hi, Javier. Thanks so much for your presentation. My name is Amelma. I'm the Education Engagement Specialist for Seattle Housing Authority. I think it's amazing that you guys were very intentional about bringing in a product that meets kids where they're at right now, being that they're so tech savvy. Like personally, I have a 4-year-old niece who super gifted, brilliant, much like the young kids these days, right? But however, like a lot of the apps and programs that are installed in her little tablet aren't necessarily educational per se. And so to mix the hands-on, go outside with the technology, I think is genius. Thank you all for that. Now, my question is, outside of English and Spanish, are there other language supports being offered or possibly to be developed?
We definitely want to partner with anyone who's want to make a suggestion for other languages, especially if, within, say, your housing project, that you have, I'm in Chicago, we have a high number of Polish population in Chicago. If it's something that we need to translate the words for that, that's something that, we're definitely going to look into being able to do. We chose English and Spanish at first, just because we know that some of the critical mass within the locations that we currently are within Chicago and Boston, that those were the two primary languages. But the short answer, yes, we want to be able to provide this in as many languages as possible to be able to reach as many families as needed. And just, really, it's great about your niece. One of the things, like, with my kids, I continue to think, and I always say with this app, is that we're trying to provide good screen time, right? And we know, kind of as adults and parents and educators, that there's a difference between watching YouTube and actually engaging in something. And that's why there's so much research that had been done around Pokemon Go and how the augmented reality experience to actually get kids out and about is something that is really good. As we continue to work through this, as well, and as we also increase our installation sites, there is an amazing app that we started demoing a couple years ago, where it's going to have all the installation points marked in the app and will essentially be a GPS unit for MathTalk hotspot installations. And that'll be able to provide you with parent prompts and saying, hey, you're only, 3 blocks away from this installation. Why don't you go check it out? And here's some activities that you can do while you're there. So also within the installation purchase, when you're doing that, you're essentially I won't say pre-purchasing, but you're on the list essentially for when that app launches, your location will be populated on that app once it gets fully developed.
Are these typically all outdoors, or are there any indoor sites?
No, so most of the stuff that we're doing right now has focused on outdoor. Honestly, most of the contracts that we had for indoor experiences for this year got put on hold. But there is a host of indoor experiences that we've been working on as well. Even in terms of, for the younger children, measurement on the wall, right? How do we measure together? What are some ways that we can use magnetiles for, stickies on certain things and different comparison experiences? The number line itself, we have, conversations with schools and community organizations to be able to just put that number line in their hallways, and drop that down so that way the kids can go out of their classroom and also utilize that spaces. So, there's the movement behind hallway art, and we're definitely right there with that as well, being able to put things, in the hallways that way. We are also looking at restaurants. How do we partner with restaurants? We've been able to provide some work with restaurants around, placemats, and having, mathematized placemats that are location specific. We also worked with, or working with doctors' offices and hospitals to try to figure out how to mathematize the waiting spaces there. So those are some of the things, but again, those are kind of on hold right now until we figure out what's going on with kind of these spaces at COVID.
But maybe resident services offices waiting rooms would be great. We've actually, I'm joking a little, but not really, because we've had great, we've seen this work really well with literacy. So making sure that there are books available in sort of those central offices where a resident might come to pay their rent or do other activities like that. So I actually think that's something that, of course, within maybe hopefully the next year, things will somewhat resume some normalcy, but that's definitely something that I think would be great for you all to keep on your list, because that's really our whole point. As we talked about a few months ago when we initially connected, that the housing authorities have access to these families and children, and so taking advantage of those spaces and opportunities.
And we're also able to customize essentially for the space, right? So it's not that you're going to have a large number line in what might be a small resident services office, right? But it could be something that we work with you on developing some signage, and installation signage for your wall. That if families are sitting there and they have access to technology there, they can scan the code that's on the wall, and there's prompts provided for them or ways to interact as you're waiting that 20-30 minutes for something, and that can take them directly to the app and they can play there versus having to necessarily do something separately that's so large as well.
I have another question. In your, can you guys hear me?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, great. In your current installations, are you guys able to track usage rates, and like how do people normally like come across this app? Is it through like a school or a teacher, or is it through signage? Thinking about like if we were to do this, how we would get residents involved in this.
Yeah. So essentially with the usage, we just have to go by essentially anecdotal usage experiences at this point. We are going to have some geolocation specific triggers eventually to be able to know where the downloads essentially are coming from, or the usage rates at that point once we have the full public launch of everything. But yeah, the answer right there is being able to have everything location and signage specific. So if there is someone who is looking for something to do and they see this in your courtyard and there's a sign with it that says, additional, download for additional experience or for an enhanced experience, they can scan that and download that. We know right now with QR codes and with cameras, all cameras essentially, if they're on a smartphone, have access to the QR codes. And we're also seeing that because of COVID, kids are having way more access to technology than they did prior. And when we first started doing this, there was a big question about the digital divide and how, kids weren't going to be able to have access to the technology. And now with our partners in the city of Evanston, their conversations, hey, don't worry about that anymore. Literally all of our kids have iPads or Android devices that they'll be able to utilize within any of these public spaces. So that hasn't been an issue at this point either. And one of the other things that we would also want to do is within the budget for an installation is really budgeting for an activation event at the same time. So it's once these things are done, how do we activate it? And we'll partner with, whatever, with you all, whoever it is, to really create something that's an event to, get parents excited, get families excited, and also encourage the usage as, something different for them.
And Javier, I'm not sure if you already showed this slide or not, but do you want to maybe drop into the chat your contact information?
Yep.
Because it sounds like maybe some of the folks on today or who watch the recording might want to follow up with you about potential partnering.
Sure. So again, it's just Javier, Javier at MathTalkPBC.com is my email address.
Sorry, you said
it.
it.
Fix Javier at MathTalkPBC.com.
Is there a letter missing from what's in the chat?
Probably.
Thank you.
So I am going to fix the link as well in the PowerPoint and provide that back out to you all. And I apologize for the technical difficulties on that. So I will fix that link and I will send that to you. And if you want to have that with the presentation, we can shift through as well.
Great. Yeah, and I would just say, and we do have a few more minutes if folks have other questions, but in addition to potential partnering with MathTalk, I think some of the other points that you all raised would be great for feedback to provide in terms of specific other languages that might be awesome to see in the future. I know in Seattle specifically, you all have really a very, very diverse amount of languages spoken among your residents. So any feedback you can provide for that, I think would be useful, as well as if you can think through ways that you think residents might be most likely to engage with this, whether it's, more of that indoor gel or outside, and I would try to think, hopefully a little past sort of some of our current restrictions, but as well as if, what you're currently seeing with residents in terms of access to, do they have access to a device, but do they need the Wi-Fi to be provided? And so if it's near enough to, like, say a community building that you all are operating, would the Wi-Fi capture? Those are sorts of things that kind of came to my head when I first was talking to MathTalk a few months ago, but you all are the experts. So definitely that's the kind of thing that I think would really make a partnership like this really effective and strong. That insight about, what the residents would really want and be able to use. Yeah,
we 100% welcome the feedback and we encourage it as often as we can. And even if you have either yourselves or even if you have your niece who wants to play around with the app and provide us some feedback, we also do family sessions where we invite them for no more than 20-25 minutes to talk with them and their child or their children about the app and what they liked and what they experienced. Most of the time we're able to offer them, like an Amazon gift card or something for their time to be able to provide them, with something for providing us with some time as well. So that's definitely something that's possible as well as we continue to go. We're going to do a soft launch in December for the app, and I think that will be more of a time where we're going to be engaging more with folks. And then before we want to get all that feedback, and then once we do the full public launch of the app, then that'll incorporate a lot of the feedback that was given during that time as well.
And Javier, what's kind of the general age range that you all are targeting?
So we are focusing essentially 2 to 8, 3 to 8. The app the Measure Everything app, on the younger end of the scale, you're going to want the parent and adult, or the caregiver interaction with that for sure. They're going to need help with following the instructions, and once they kind of get the hang of it, they'll be able to do certain things. But we know that they're going to need, for reading the prompts and all that, they're going to need the assistance there. As you get older on the scale, there's going to be a lot of self-sufficiency. We of course still encourage the MathTalk with the families, but that's another reason why within the installations we're providing the prompts. So you may not even have to have access to the technology in order to follow the prompts in the games that are already at the location and installation. And also within the app, if you saw, you're able to choose the age range. That'll also increase the difficulty and decrease as well within the age range for that. So we're working with, I think it's like, we have littles, bigs, and biggest. So there'll be harder activities and adventures for the kids as they grow.
Other questions or thoughts?
One last question. You mentioned soft launch in December. So after the soft launch, do you have a perspective, like timeline for other organizations potentially partnering with you all?
For the app or for generally?
For like the app installation.
So when I say the soft launch, that's just essentially looking for kind of critical mass testing on the app. But right now we're doing the installations now and partnering. So right now we have some in Boston within Tillman Park, Senate Park, and we're working with some other Boston parks to get some of the installations in. Housing project wise, we're working with the Whittier Housing Project. There's also there's another the Cambridge Housing as well. We're working with them on refreshing one of the installations that we had put in there last year. So we're going to be looking at doing something else with them as well. So we have partners that we're doing installations with currently, but of course we want to add to that and provide the opportunities across the board. Cool. I want to thank everybody for giving me the time. Thank you for the time. Great meeting you all. If you have any questions or definitely want to connect, please feel free to shoot me an email. What we can do is, if you're looking at installation, we will work with you essentially to get photos of your area. We'll provide you essentially a proposal of what we're looking for, similar to the renderings that you saw in here. Those are renderings for a park in Worcester, Massachusetts. So we'll work with you on kind of developing what your site can look like. And then if you want to be a distribution partner as well, in terms of spreading the word for the app and providing that to your residents, we can provide you with the information. We're also, sending out cards that can be printed, that can be distributed to your residents as well, with a QR code and saying, hey, go here, it's a fun app for your kids that you can download. So those are some things that we're able to do kind of right now with you as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Folks, if you end up thinking of other questions that you have, you talk to some other staff and have follow-up, you have Javier's contact information. And as I said, I will also send out in the next couple of days the recording of this webinar if you want to be able to reference it or share it with any colleagues, as well as a copy of the slide deck and those demonstrations so you can review at your own pace. But thank you so much. This was really great. I'm glad you were able to share this information with some folks, and I know others are planning on catching the recording as well.
Thank you all.
Thanks so much.